Hello, America. My name is Kat, and welcome to my page, Speak Truth to Lies. So, if you are listening to this video and you like the content of the video, please remember to like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell. Today, I'm going to be reading an article from the Federalist, written by a Joy Pullman on February 25th of this year. And it's called Your Kids Would Be Better Off Feral Than Going to Schools That Make Them Anti-American Racists. To obtain or keep teaching licenses, Illinois now requires all K through 12 teachers to indoctrinate their students in critical race theory, destructive lies about sex and gender, and other leftist mind poison. The rules clearly communicate that in Illinois, public schools are no longer places to learn, but places children will be lied to, manipulated, and warehoused as wards of a corrupt and malevolent state. And this kind of schooling is spreading nationwide. Every decent parent and family church should refuse to allow this kind of instruction to be inflicted upon the children in their care, and assume personal responsibility for securing their genuine education outside anti-public schools. Those who do not are abdicating their sacred duty to teach their children to love and know the truth. The new Illinois rules require to demonstrate that they embrace and encourage progressive viewpoints and perspectives. It clearly specifies that these include incorporating into all of their teaching and curricula neo-Marxist falsehoods about race and sex, and actively discriminate based on religion, viewpoint, and race. The rules require teachers to directly oppose and undermine the concept of objective truth. Understand and value there is not one correct way of doing or understanding something, and that what is seen as correct is most often based on our lived experiences. This is an exercise in forcing people to affirm two contradictory things, as the rest of the requirements are extremely dogmatic, not open to any other way of doing or understanding something. So let me just discuss with you guys what they're trying to say. No objective truth is a falsehood in and of itself. Without objective truth, we wouldn't be able to build airplanes, spaceships. Math is an objective truth. You can always, in a math, you have a problem, and there's a correct way of doing it to get the correct answer. So what this is saying is there is no objective truth. Okay, so yes, while I may understand that there are many ways of doing things to get to the same end result, saying that there is no objective truth is a fallacy in and of itself. Treat themselves and students as a determined product of their race, sex, and sexual behavior. So again, identity politics. You are no longer a human who has a human experience, and we recognize other humans and all of humanity as being able to have experiences like grief and happiness and joy. We are literally deduced to the defining characteristics of our skin color, our sex, and our sexual behavior, as if children need to learn about that anyway, because they don't even know anything about it. They have no concept. Their frontal lobes are not developed. They cannot wrap their brains around what the concept of sex and sexual behavior even is yet. Recognize how their identity, so not their humanity, their identity, their race, ethnicity, national origin, language, sex, and gender identity, sexual orientation, physical development, emotional ability, socioeconomic class, religion, etc., affects their perspectives and beliefs about pedagogy and students. So again, this is not for the school to determine. This is what we as parents are supposed to do. And they're now trying to take that out of our hands and teach it to our kids. This is not what school was designed for. Believe and preach cultural Marxist identity politics. Assess how their biases and perceptions affect their their teaching practice, and how they access tools to mitigate their own behavior: racism, sexism, homophobia, unlearned privilege, Eurocentrism, etc. So they're trying to inject Marxist ideas into our kids to affect how they see the world. Again, not a job for schools. This is a job for us as parents. Agree that the United States is systemically racist. Understand that there are systems in our society that create and reinforce inequities, thereby creating oppressive conditions, and work actively against these systems. Okay, so we've seen a lot of this. If you really believe that America is systemically racist, I've got a bridge to sell you. The majority of white Americans voted for President Obama, not once, but twice. Do you really think that if America was systemically racist, that would have happened? No. And you can make all the excuses you want if you believe otherwise. But again, I got a bridge to sell you. Support different behavior standards based on race. Know and understand how a system of inequity creates rules regarding student punishment that negatively impacts students of color. Okay, this is stupid. What this really is right here is the soft bigotry of low expectations. So what they're basically telling you is we don't expect the same level of exceptionalism from our students of color. That's all this is. They word it to make it sound like they're being supportive when they're really not. Because you tell me what job, as adults, you all have jobs. Tell me what job you have or have ever had where showing up on time was a bad thing. Do you think you would have a job if you just decided to walk in willy-nilly whenever you like? Because this is what they're getting rid of established rules of showing up on time, working hard, all of those things under the guise of showing support. Engage in and support cultural Marxist activism. Be aware of the effects of power and privilege, because for these people, it's all about power. You will hear that word. I've heard it ad nauseum. And privilege. So privilege is associated to skin color as well, as opposed to socioeconomic status, class status, and the need for social advocacy and social action to better empower diverse students and communities. This doesn't empower anyone, okay? It doesn't empower anybody. Power and privilege. So what this does is this pushes children into groups of oppressed and oppressor, and it creates a power dynamic. Can you understand that? It creates a power dynamic, because if you're telling children of color that they're oppressed and you're telling white children that they're oppressors, you are creating the power dynamic inside of classrooms. Do you think this is going to instill a sense of community and unity that's going to help empower people, or do you think it's going to further drive them apart? Push students into leftist activism. Support and create opportunities for student advocacy and representation in the content and classroom, and create a risk-taking space that promotes student activism and advocacy. So again, they're not trying to educate our kids on the way the world works. They are trying to create little activists that buck against the system. How is this going to help them when they go out into the world? How is this going to help them get a job? Introduce and promote adult sex behaviors and gender identity confusion. Implement and integrate the wide spectrum and fluidity of identities. So they're indoctrinating, folks. That's what this is. They are indoctrinating. We already know that BLM on their website last year had the abolition of the nuclear family, which means one mother, one father. Okay. Now, keep in mind, I have friends that are gay that have adopted children. That's not what I'm advocating for, okay? I think it's great. I think if children can be placed and put in a loving home with two parents, regardless of those parents' sex, because two parents is still a nuclear household, that's a given. What they are trying to do is they are trying to indoctrinate our children into this unreality that transgendered women are women. No, transgendered women are transgendered women. But according to the New Equality Act, sex and identity have literally been diminished down to a set of defining characteristics. So women have been deduced into all the things that women do. So if you dress like a woman and wear makeup like a woman and act in a manner of a woman, then you're a woman. No joke. Illinois State School Board and legislature also deleted requirements that teachers prove they have learned any traditional curricular content or subject matter knowledge, social agitation, uber alles. What's more, notes Stanley Kurtz, the Illinois experience is about to go national, and that is terrifying, and that should terrify you too. You guys got to keep in mind, this is coming to a school near you. A coalition of leftists is working together to make rules like Illinois operate in every state under the guise of civics. As Kurtz documents in depth, they intend to co-opt and subvert the grassroots recognition in America that education institutions use public resources to teach the next generation to hate the country that gives them more than every other country in the world does. So, oh my God. They want to teach our children to hate the country they live in. Can you understand what that's going to mean for our future and the future of our children? If you think things are bad or getting bad now, just wait if this goes nationwide and parents don't wake up and realize this and start pushing back against this shit. The goal is to use label civics to make people think the plan is teaching children to be more patriotic and literate about history. This is what President Trump's Patriot Act, not Patriot Act, his 1776 project was to instill into civics a sense of patriotic education, to learn about our history, the good and the bad. What this wants to do, though, is just focus on the bad. Okay, so just focus on slavery and all the ill wills and the bad things that happened, and not the good things that came about because of those bad things. Okay, the goal is to be more patriotic and literate about history while accomplishing precisely the opposite, doubling down on young Americans' well-documented anti-American animus undergirded by their historical ignorance. 1619 Project, for example. Obviously, this transformation is occurring at majorities of Americans' children have endured frequently disputed and lower quality education than usual nearly an entire school year. COVID lockdowns, with half completely online and another quarter partially online now. It is clear that school as normal will not soon return, even though many schools' safety rules are contrary to evidence and the seasonal flu is truly a higher risk to children. So here's the thing. The majority of America's children, especially those in more impoverished areas, or even those children who were already struggling to begin with, have not acclimated well to the online schooling. Okay, now I am very fortunate in the aspect that my child, the opposite of that was true. He does have behavioral issues, social behavioral issues. It was very difficult for him to focus in class. So when this lockdown occurred, I had been toying with the notion of homeschooling him with an online program. And basically the shutdown showed me that the belief that I had in doing that with him has served him well, because at the beginning of last year, before the lockdowns occurred, he had all failing grades, and now he has A's, B's, and C's. But this isn't true for most children. If your child is one of the 3/4 doing online school, you can do it better yourself. If your child is being taught lies instead of truth in school, you can definitely do it better yourself. Just read good books and talk about them. Schools increasingly open function as indoctrination factories, and massive ineptitude is at effective and reliable instruction, which long predates COVID, mean it is past time for parents to stop with the wishful thinking and get their kids something better before it's too late. Community organizations, primarily churches are important. So if you go to church, you guys got to come together and put a stop to this must come to their aid. State-sponsored instruction that makes your child a dogmatic, racist relativist is not worth any benefit if you feel, or any benefit you feel schools give in return. Not a single one. Mowgli raised by wolves and bears would be better for your children than this. Thankfully, unlike the Therians or human pups your children could meet under instruction like this, you realize you are not a wolf or a bear, so you can do a lot better than raising Mowgli. Unfortunately, I need you to activate. I need you guys to activate your inner mama bear. Okay, if you're raising socially conscious, amazing human beings who treat other people with dignity and respect, activate your inner bear, your mama bear, activate it, because they're trying to actively harm our kids. Truly, it would be better for children to be feral in their backyards than manipulated with false COVID fears and dangerous lies about how racist they are for being born white. It would be even better for a child to have a library card and a large supply of craft materials than to attend this kind of school. It would be ideal for children to have truly excellent schools to attend instead, but one step at a time, okay? First, stop the bleeding. It is easy to compete with stupid and evil. Just don't be stupid and evil. This is one key reason homeschooled kids whose parents don't have a teaching degree do better than public school peers whose teachers do. Eating grass is better than eating poison, and any person who isn't indoctrinated can see that. Instruction of the kind Illinois has committed itself to is a code red for people to get children out of schools by any moral means necessary. It's not as hard as you think. Remember, even Baloo can do better than this. So can you. Now that teachers' licenses are hinged not on curricular competence, but the affirmation of false political creeds, a loving parent is clearly better than teaching college-certified critical race zombie. Many parents who thought they could never homeschool are finding out that even doing it while also working from home is better than trying to substitute teach the garbage local public schools are calling online instruction. So you guys need to pay attention to what your kids are learning online. Peek into their rooms, peek into the classroom, just stand by and listen to hear what they're learning. Many parents are finding out that the little education pods they put together are actually a tiny private school that almost any church or community organization could host. Again, if you go to church, activate your community. There are people in your church community, women who do not work, maybe they're stay-at-home moms, that can teach and instruct the children. This is how it used to be done, and we fared a lot better off because of it. Almost any church or community organization could host and are accessible at very affordable costs, especially if parents' mortgage bill is freed from the upcharge of living in a good school district gone woke and others like grandparents pitch in on tuition. It is churches, parents, and charities' moral duty to step up to the plate. And not only in Illinois, American public schools are not much better than this across the board, except for a few outliers. And they are likely to get a lot worse under a Biden administration committed, yay, to accelerating critical race theory, forcing boys and girls to shower and sleep overnight together, imposing different school rules for different races, and keeping schools closed as long as possible. The time has come for people who love their country to begin building and investing in parallel private social institutions to replace the institutions the left has corrupted beyond restoration. The people who control public schools, public health, our energy grids, you name it, have proven they are willing to teach the next generation, the greatest country in the world, that needs to be burned down and looted and uphold COVID superstitions rather than perform basic safety checks on crucial energy infrastructure. It's time for all people possible to divest from these corrupt institutions and invest their resources, time, children, money, buildings, whatever they got, in sound ones for the sake of the common good of the country we love. The Titanic is hitting an iceberg, and it's going to need a cultural Cajun Navy to set sail and haul up as many stranded people as possible. I've got my little boat. Where's yours? So again, I cannot stress the importance of you guys waking up and paying attention. If you live in Michigan, as I do, and you know of anyone or any school that is implementing this curriculum, please contact me. Contact your school boards. Contact your state representative and tell them no to critical theory being taught in schools. I already contacted Debbie Dingle. I did a Facebook live feed reading my letter out loud to her the other day, and I will write her another one. Do everything that you can. Your voice is important. The government works for us. By the will of the people, we give them power. Okay. And we can take it away with our votes. So if you know of anyone or any school in your area, I don't care where you're located in Michigan, please contact me. We need to build a coalition of parents to rally against this poison being taught to our children. Okay? Until next time, my friends, remember, hypocrisy is everywhere. Speak truth to lies.